ever been in a fight with your husband, your wife, your partner, your better half, where you knew you were wrong, but you kept fighting anyway? In 1901 in London, and no, I'm not British, I'm Australian, but in 1901 in London, the mayor of London got together in a room all the smartest people he could find and tried to create a strategy for the city of London for 1925. So 1901, he's thinking about 1925, and he's trying to identify the three biggest issues he would have to deal with running a city. What do you reckon those three issues were? Like, what do you reckon he settled on as his major issues? Transportation. In fact, transportation happened to be all three. They estimated that based on population growth in London, they would need 1 million new horses. Seriously. Now, if you have 1 million new horses, you have a second problem. That's actually not what I was thinking, but yes. How relevant was that plan come 1905? Yeah, like of no use whatsoever because of the car. Now, park that, I'm going to come back to it in a second. In the early 1990s, AT&T hired a company called McKinsey & Co. This is a big consulting company, to do what's called a feasibility study, where they would come in and they would try and assess the market opportunity, in this case, of mobile telephones, cell phones. And they paid $10 million for this thing. McKinsey gave them a report in the early 1990s, told AT&T that they thought the global, not the American, the global market opportunity forever in phones was 900,000 units. Seriously, this room will have 900,000 phones by the time we're finished, right? Now, I want you to think about those two examples. And it's really easy to go, well, the mayor could not possibly have known the motor vehicle was coming. And AT&T could not have known that people would really want to use cell phones. In other words, they couldn't predict the future. Wrong. The mistake they made was not predicting the future. The mistake they made was making the wrong assumptions about the present. Massive study just got finished, not published yet, looking at who made the most money in the recent upswing, but didn't study what they did in the upswing, studied what they did in the last recession. Here is what they found, that the businesses, the brands that continued to innovate, to take risks and do cool new stuff, even when the market was getting pummeled, they nailed it on the upswing. This concept that intangibles will be your source of competitive advantage. What is usually a market breakthrough, what is usually a, oh my gosh, how do we not, was started long before it was the obvious thing to think. Because everyone says, there's a lot of research out now about how smart crowds are and that crowds will figure out their way through traffic and that you shouldn't lay paths on a college campus because just lay grass and people will walk where the paths should be. But in order for that path to start, what had to happen first? A trailblazer had to cut the path and go across the grass, right? To which someone noticed and followed, and then over a period of time, you wore a track. Crowds don't innovate. Industries don't innovate. They don't. Individuals do. Individual people, individual firms are who drives innovation. Industries then do what? Evaluate. Yeah, the individual drives the change. And I would like to give you an alternative model for how you think about innovation rather than sexy new stuff. Because no matter how much things change, they always stay the same. And things like reliability and focus on core product and integration and bringing things together, that's not new. It's like just doing what we've always done better than we've done it before. And if you think about your role in your company, you are in a prime position to drive that kind of how do we do what we already do better than we currently do it style of innovation. So I'd like to suggest Progressive Car Insurance, where they got their kind of top 12, top 15 people in a room and said, how can we create new value in the insurance market? This is a 150-year-old business. How can we innovate? Anyway, this guy comes in, and I met someone who was in the actual meeting. One of their younger executives, newer to the insurance business, comes in and says, I have an idea. What's your idea? I think we should pay everyone And they're like, what? Yeah, every claim we get, all this investigation, claims management stuff, let's just push that aside. Let's just pay every claim. How do you think that went? So apparently, according to the guy that was there, they kicked this guy out of the meeting and proceeded to spend an hour of the meeting discussing his current mental state and whether things at home had affected his ability to do his job. Seriously, right? But he's a kind of algorithm, he's like a spreadsheet guy. So he comes back the next day with a spreadsheet that showed in the last 3 years, their claims management cost had spiked 40% because there was an increasing number of lawyers getting involved in the process. He then calculated that total they'd spent on legal fees and on investigation and worked out that it was greater than the entire capital amount they saved from the 3% of fraudulent claims they avoided. And they build this whole new business model, not even business model, a whole new philosophy for business called trust your customer. Did you know they had to partner with a university to run a course called claims psychology adjustment because their staff couldn't come to terms with the fact that they weren't to distrust the people they were doing business with. Now they didn't create anything shiny, sexy, and new. They just said, how could we rethink what we already do to get a better result, extract costs from the business, and in their case, create a phenomenal customer experience as well. And I don't think I've ever seen any of the business publications do a study on progressive and that level of innovation because it's what's called non-sexy, process-based innovation. Entrepreneurs believe that action precedes clarity. Do you know Rupert Murdoch spent $470 million buying a website called MySpace? He then 3 months later went to his annual general meeting and said, I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to make money on this thing. I just know I needed to do it. $500 million, not sure what I'm going to do with it, just knew I had to have a try. He monetized it 4 months later for $900 million in a guaranteed deal with Google. Now, he made that money in 12 to 18 months. The site's now pretty much in a whole different space. But isn't that what entrepreneurs do? We try stuff. We throw mud at the wall. We have a crack. We adopt new technology. Even if the technology doesn't work, we jump on board, we do it again. We do it again, we do it again, we do it again. Because that's what it means to be an entrepreneur. You do stuff no one else is prepared to do.